YouTube. It's your homeboy Fat Rat. Evolve, original West Side Playboy Gangsta Crips. We gotta get into this 92 gang truce, man. I gotta skip a beat to get this to you. But first things first. You know how we do it.
Say you love me. Say I'm the one your eyes see. Tell me you need me. Deep down inside like I need you. You see I need you to see me through. I wanna hear you say, darling, 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 I love you. Through the rain and through the cold, together we will never grow. Sometime the going will get a little tough, and I must admit, living with me can be rough, but I need you to see me through. I get off when you say, baby, 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 I love you. So let me be a man. Together I believe we could stand. Let me take your trembling hand. Somewhere in God's country.
Come on now. That's that DJ, man. Some of y'all know about it, but some of you don't. But learn the lessons of of the heat that's being brought to you, man. It's definitely something you got to bear witness to, you know. Uh, in this particular episode, I want to jump ahead for a minute because I'm planning the closing out of YTS, man, and I got to bring a couple of people in here to for accuracy, and actually they're gonna give you more of a kind of more perspective on what was happening that I didn't actually experience because I want to take y'all to the height of what happens when we was dealing with that LA County Jail Crip module bleed over into YTS and how some of those things began to affect our relationships, you know, in the Crip Corps and things of that nature. So uh, I got some help coming for that. And then there's a person I want to mention and do a little bit of a segment on before I even get to that because he was so impactful. I just was having a conversation about this individual, man. Uh, a lot of us benefited from this brother, man. Hold on one second. A lot of us benefited from this brother, man. But right now, man, I want to stop and jump ahead to 1992. And we're in 1985. This is 7 years later. Because some key things happened with the Playboy Gangsters that I don't want to get messy about, but I want to highlight. Because 1992 was the year that the Rodney King verdict was read. And there was an acquittal of, I believe it's Brasino, Wynn, Powell, and Coon. You know, four devils, man. They were acquitted for the beating of Rodney King. And the way LA worked, it was building up to a confrontation in LA between us and the police anyway. The police didn't play it straight in LA. They had adapted that mindset of going after the gangs without ethics because of the crack era and things of that nature. And we can build on that later on, but I really want to get into 92 because some significant things happened for the Playboy Gangsters that I don't know if we've documented or spoke much about. So the riot that kicked off in 1992 was on the heels of the reading of the verdict and the acquittal of the four police officers that were being tried for the assault on Rodney King. And it wasn't nothing Rodney could have said that would have deterred the response of Los Angeles on the heels of that decision. It was a powder keg, man, in the middle of a house, man, and it was set to go off. And it did. And I was there. And I remember that day vividly. When the verdict was being read, I was on the phone with one of the homies, and he was in LA, and I was in like Riverside. And the verdict was being read, and I was saying, I don't think they're going to give us justice, man. They ain't been doing it. At the time, I had some socially political, motivated music out on the circuit, man. I was promoting my album in Mara Flashlight Therapy with my record company, New African Movement Records, Nam Records. Shout to Daddy O.D., rest in peace. Shout to Plu West Boulevard. We was putting work in, man. At that time, man, shout to Bent Nose and G-Bone, man, who were really instrumental in helping me to get that project done, right? A lot of work went into that project that a lot of people don't know about. A lot of money went into that project that people don't know about. A lot of arguments and conversations and debates about the direction of that project. That's what you see at the bottom of the screen is video clips from the song Flashlight Therapy, which was the name of the EP that I had done in 92. It was actually in the end of 92 that I completed that project. And we were pushing the project. We pushed it kind of hard too. We ended up on the 92. We ended up on the Chronic tour with Dr. Dre, and we actually introduced Snoop Dogg on his debut solo to the world. We were on the same car with Snoop when he blew up, man. And we fell out with Suge that night. I'll give y'all that another day, man. But that was 92. That was actually in 93. That was May of 93, the performance at the Glam Slam Vertigo Club Vertigo downtown. Prince bought the club and renamed Club Vertigo the Glam Slam and put his little purple and his little statues and different stuff inside the club. And I just had juice. That was one of the clubs. We just had juice in that club, man. There was a lot of things we could do other people couldn't do in that club. Um, but that's 92 going into 93, man. I'm only saying that because it's related to the point I'm about to make. Um, so I was on the phone with one of the homies, man, and we having a discussion about what they gonna say, cause the verdict was in and it came over on the news, and they read it, and it said we the jury in this entitled action, et cetera, find the defendants not guilty. And when they said not guilty, I heard the homie say, "Cuz, F that S, man, fuck that." And I was like, "I'm with you. I'm on my way." Right? So we getting suited and booted, man. Me and my little partner from Compton, Spooktown. We on our way, man. So we on our way up to LA. At the time I had the British Sterling, man. We jumping to Sterling, we 150 to LA, man. We didn't even, the law lost its value when that decision was made. And that attitude kind of spread like a wildfire in the city. The law lost its value when that decision was made. In the hearts and minds of the gangs and really just people in general, man, were fed up with the indiscretions of the police officers and their abuse of power and authority. And it just, like I said, it was a powder keg and it blew that day. So when we smashed, went to LA, met up with the homies, like, what we doing? Everybody went to what was it, Crenshaw and Martin Luther King, but I think it was King at that time. The little mall right there, the Magic Johnson, had it was really, we used to call it the Magic Johnson Mall. I forget why we called it that at the time, but I know Magic Johnson owned some businesses in there inside that mall, like a movie theater or some other businesses or something like that, that Magic Johnson owned. And this really technically was Black Peastone area, right? Crenshaw and King, right? They down the street. The Jungles is down the street, so we all met up. And when we pulled up, it was a big old commotion in the middle of King and Crenshaw. Big old commotion, like cars, everything busted out, fire. They had busted it, broken into the mall right there, and they were looting the mall. And some of the homies was getting involved in the looting. I'm like, man, I didn't come up here to steal, right? Homies like not listening, like, man, we finna please, we finna take all of this. I'm like, you ain't accomplishing nothing with that, man. So, my mind was on a more revolutionary. I wasn't really an opportunist. I wasn't really on no opportunism at that point, right? I wanted us to turn our focus on conflict with the police, man. I didn't get my wishes that night, man. We did a little dirt, man, and kind of got out of the city, man. But it was going up, and it was going up to me in the wrong direction, because really our part of the city was blazing, right? And in my mind, I'm like, man, we into like recording studios and all of that, man. We go up, we should go up to Beverly Hills, and they got Simi Valley where this thing happened at, man. They got stores and all that. If y'all don't want to loot, it's a confrontation with the police. Let's go up to Simi Valley and do some looting, right? Or some shooting. And they had, you can see on the news, they had the owners of different storefronts and stuff like that had their guns and I mean fully automatic weapons on top of the roofs of their buildings where they ran their businesses at, and they were supported in that effort with the police. And it's like this is exactly what we talking about, man. So conflict went on that night, man. And I've heard of a report that I never heard before again, that on the night of the 92 riots, when it started, that 54 gang members were killed and 18 police were killed. I've never heard that report again, and I'm going to do some research to see if I can substantiate that report. But I remember hearing that report on a news source, and I don't remember what the news source was, but I remember seeing all the high-speed chases. That night, the police were still trying to impose law in the city of Los Angeles. That night, they were trying it. But it was, you could see that respect for law was coming down, man. It was falling. It was falling. Bad, right? Like I said, we did a little dirt and we got out of there, man, for that night, on the first night of the riots. So then, I believe it was the next day, because what you saw the night of the riots, right? The night of the looting, the first night of the looting, you saw Crips and Bloods kind of working together to loot. It wasn't just the Crips looting, it was the Bloods looting and the Crips, and they got their red and Crips got their blue on, and there's looting going on, right? And then those who ain't participating in the looting is outside, you know what I mean, with the act, everybody fully, you know, armed to the T, right? And it's out, the heat is out, right? And it's Crips and Bloods right here. So it was a decision made. I believe it originated in the Nickersons and the PJs. Because I believe Tony Bogart was alive then. Yeah, Tony Bogart was around and alive then. And I believe he had the Hands Across Watts movement. And I forget who it was that was pushing it in the Nickersons. But it was one of their frontliners that was like saying, everybody just come to the Nickersons, man. Hey, man, that second day, in the daytime, me and some of the homies went to the Nickersons. Now keep in mind, I got people I know some people in the Nickersons. I ain't gonna go into that now, but I got people in the Nickersons, like, you know what I mean, that I've been in the Nickersons. I'm good on 115 success and all that, man, right? But, and I come in peace. I just come to take care of something and then get out of there, right? But in the Nickersons, man, you never before and never again have I ever seen anything like what I witnessed in the Nickersons, man. That day we pulled up, man, listen, it had to be at least 2,000 Crips and Bloods in the Nickersons that day. I want to say hundreds, but when I start looking, stepping back and viewing it, right, man, it was a couple of thousand, right? And you moving through the Nickersons, you never seen nothing like this, because, in the Nickersons, man, they serious about being Bloods. If you know anything about the history of the Nickersons, and they got some serious rivalry going on with the Crips who surround them. PJs, Grapes. That's serious warfare, man. So the Nickersons have always been a war zone, right? And they know how to be in them Nickersons and go to war with you coming through there and all that. You know how to set traps in the different parking lots and different stuff like that, man. But man, it was amazing, man. We actually went up in the Nickersons, man. Crips and Bloods, 2,000 deep, shaking hands, giving each other dap, looking for people you could identify, you done time with, and different stuff like that. Man, I seen so many different homies, man, that from different sets in the Nickersons, it was just amazing, man. You know, and we hitting each other, getting each other's info and changing information and like, what we gonna do next, homie? And it was them kind of conversations happening. You know, man, they just can't. We ain't respecting no law no more. Like, police can't come through here without getting dumped on. And it was them kind of conversations, right? And that was the attitude that had built up from one night to the next day. It was the police can't come through certain areas, right? We shooting out street lights at nighttime, and we going in and we knocking down certain businesses and stuff at nighttime, and it was game plans being put together, and it was execution on those game plans too, man. But I just remember the second day we was in the Nickersons, man, about 2,000 deep, Crips and Bloods, man. And that was like peace. You never saw that before. And there was not one incident of violence. Not one instance of violence inside the Nickersons with all those Crips and Bloods, man. That was an indication that we were going to have some degree of success with the LA gang truce. Because this is the gang truce. This is us saying to each other, look, ceasefire, man. We got bigger enemies. We got bigger problems. And we got to get to that, right? It was revolution. It was our own version of a revolution, right? And a revolt within a revolution. It was that. And as I go further in the story, I'm gonna tell you it's gonna be kind of evident what I mean by that. So we hang out in Nickersons, man. It was other spots, like it was spots. You could have went to the PJs. You could have went to the Liso Village. You could have went to the I can't say the name of the projects in the 50s where the Bloods at. Damn, that's crazy. But you could go there. All the projects. They were like meeting places, right? Mainly it was the projects. Every set that had a projects in it, they was meeting there, and it was big meetings, big meetings. You could go to the Jordan Downs, right? Where else you could go, man? Anyway, but it was projects throughout L.A., Compton, and Wash you could go through, right? And just really hang out and have conversations about, who you beefing with. And it would be those conversations like who we beefing with. On the first day, I remember, like, it was different sets. They was atoning. It was a form of atonement where homies was getting together with the Bloods and like, man, we not coming over here at y'all no more, man. And then it's bad that we had done that, but we understand, like, we had to get it in on each other, but now we gonna end that, and it was like all love. It was like, all right, peace then. We on peace then, right? And it was like that, man, first day. So we broke it down after we hung out in the Nickersons for a couple of hours, man. And then we broke it down, and we would always break down from where we was at and go to the set, right? That first night, I think we went to Schoolyard Hood. After we left the Nickersons, hung out on the set, some of the little homies was like, we in Schoolyard Hood, y'all need to come over here, right? And I never was comfortable with that idea, man. For various reasons, man, but mainly, the type of activity that I had and we had against each other with the schoolyards. We can have a truce, but I ain't going over there hanging out and all that kind of stuff, because if something go wrong, right, it's not just bad for us as already being rivals trying to practice a truce, right? But it impacts, it's kind of where the Playboy Gangsters is at in the car if that happens, right? And I always saw my name associated with something y'all can't forgive, right? So, for those reasons, I was reluctant, but I did go, man. Somebody probably talked me into it. I don't know who it might have been, man, but somebody talked me into that, and we went over there, right? And we was at Queen Anne's Park, right? hanging out with the schoolyards, and I think it was a few Harlems in the mix, right? And we hanging out, and I'm heated, and I'm not nervous, but I'm observant. I'm very observant. Like I'm watching everything, right? And they start introducing themselves to each other. Right, I'll never forget that, man. Homies started introducing themselves. Yeah, I'm so and so. So, oh, that's you, and yada yada yada. Then my name came up. And I didn't even say my name. That's the homie Fat Rat right there. And it got kind of like it was a little moment of silence, like. And I looked, like, okay, okay, and it got cool, right? And they was gambling up and chopping it up with the schoolyards, man. And I said, this is a possibly a great opportunity, man. It could be something good. You know what I mean? But we kicked it, man. We didn't have no problems that night, man. In fact, I remember one of the little homies from schoolyard became real close with one of our homies, and I don't want to say no names, man, but the homie rests in peace too. So I'm gonna leave that alone. But they ended up being closer, like to where that relationship would actually prolong the true stage, right? I could see that. Like, if y'all stay like that, then you influential enough with the young homies that y'all will keep that peace going, and that'll be a good thing, man. If we can have some protracted peace, that will be a good thing. So that's the first day after the night, the first day. And we ended it, and I would be commuting. I'm going back and forth. When I leave, I'm going to Riverside, man. I got my element down there. I'm in my element. We got things going on down here in Riverside, so I got to go back. Um, Second day, right? And like I said, we would end our night. Sometimes late night, we would run out to the marina, man. You know, we had a little money going on around here, man. We would run out to the marina and get us some subs or something, man. You know what I mean? And hang out for a little bit, man. And I don't know, man. We would still do maybe a little gambling up, man, and then I'm gone, man. Me and my partners, we strike back out to Riverside, man. You know what I mean? And so the second day, the first night, second one is daytime. Third day, we talking now. On the third day of the truce, we went to, and in these nights, keep in mind, on these nights, looting is happening. It's going down. It's really going down. There's a lot of looting happening. I don't agree with the spots that's being looted. I don't agree with the products that was being taken. Like, it wasn't no real value to that type of stuff with me, but it was just the activity. Some of the homies was just so burnt out. You know what I mean? Here's a man, you know what I mean, with every kind of TV you could pay for in his house, but he in here taking TVs out the store, like that kind of stuff, man. Just, misguided, man. Not really knowing the value of what it is we're involved in, the energy, the spirit that we're in, right? And what we could actually do constructively with that energy and that spirit. Nobody took charge. Like, we didn't have a force guiding or leading the effort, right? Nobody to put us on message or point, like, do this, and it would be to your benefit, right? No guidance, right? My thing was, we on truth step. We on truth level, right? Establish as much peace as you can while you can, right? Build as many relationships as you can while you can. That was my thing. Like, we need relationships. We need to be able to maneuver through the city with some form of allegiance or alliance with some of these other brothers, man, and sets that we ain't really made no, inroads to. So I was doing that. I was networking like that. And then a lot of homies that I knew from prison that I hadn't seen in years, I was seeing them. So we catching back up and bonding and getting information and stuff like that so that we could get back to each other, right? So the third day, Manchester Park, right? Listen, man, this where it done got with the police. We in my car, we got about 6 or 7 carloads of homies following me, right? We going down Hoover. I think we got the gauge or something like that, man. And there was the light had been shot out, like, or the power had been cut off, and the light was messed up, right? Listen, man, we pulling, we pushing. I want to be right about the street that we was on, but I think it was Gage. Might not be Gage though, but let's just call it Gage for the purpose of argument, conversation. So we going down Hoover. We get to Gage, the light, right? It's a red light in our way, right? Instead of stopping, right? I pull over. It's the police is right here trying to go across Hoover on Gage. They trying to cross Hoover. We going down Hoover trying to cross Gage. But it's a caravan. So I pull up and block the police. The homie roll the window down, hang out the window with a K. Rest of the homies go by like this is the mindset. Like, this is where you really love, if you got a revolutionary mind the way that I think, man, even at that time, man, this is where you love what's happening and where you from, and the way this crip thing is going, you really love it. Because when we say anybody can get it, it includes the police. And y'all done killed, they done, you gotta understand the mindset of a gang enforcer being when so many of your friends have been killed by police officers unjustly. So many of your friends have been set up, framed by police officers, right? So many of your friends have been beat by LAPD, man. It's got to come a time, right? Where these things have to be, karma dictates that these things have to be responded to at some point, right? If we are who we say we are, right? And at this point, we them dudes. Like the Crips and the Bloods is really them dudes in Los Angeles and Compton and Watts, man, in Long Beach. This is real, right? Man, listen. I'm leading the caravan, so if I pull over, the homies keep going. I block the police. The homies roll the window down. Little homie hang out the back of the window with like a K. Yeah, like, y'all could get it right now. We got you. Right? Listen. They stood down. Police stood down. Right? All the homies passed. I speed up past the caravan, get back in the front. Ooh, we keep going. We get to Manchester Park, man. Park in the park. Mistake. We should have parked on the streets and came into the park. We parked in the parking lot. Hindsight is 2020, man. You see a better way to do a thing always if you rethink it. If you're able to rethink it, you should be able to see a better way that you could have done it. But we pulled into Manchester Park parking lot, right? We get out. There's probably about 300 Crips in the parking lot, in the park already, right? You see Soule, Space Ghost, hitters like that, man, right? They ain't gonna name all the hitters, man. Hitters from every set, right? We in this big old truce, man, and we're having a conversation with each other about ceasefires. Are we gonna continue to ceasefire right here? one of the highlights of that day, I know it was being a homie with one of my homies from Marvin that was with me that came in the car with me, and he got a tech on him. It's on him. I got like my little 40 on me, right? But I got a fully in the car. The little homie left the K in the car. He got a handgun. So we all heated. Listen, we all heated having this conversation about who's not willing to do the ceasefire, like because certain sets. I remember one of the little homies from '60s was saying, "Man, we trying to do this, this, and this, but they ain't in agreement." And so what good is it? He's making an argument. I remember that he's like, "Man, some of us, and we the young homies, and we willing to do X, Y, and Z." And then I think Slip Rock, we one of their G's. He pulled up. And he came out, and I think he might have said something to kill that part of the argument, like, we gonna work that stuff out, you know what I mean, like that. Our main rivalries, we had kind of worked out. The main enemy of Playboy Gangsta has always been the Schoolyard Crips. So we got through that, right? But the Gear Gangs is saying they not in no truce with the Playboy Gangsters. And I guess the show lines are saying the same thing. So we hearing this, right? But we not addressing that because none of them are present. They not at Manchester Park. They somewhere else, right? Not saying they ain't participating in the truce, but we not meeting each other. We not running into each other, right? So I tell one of the homies say he had a poem he wanted to say that was like a conscious poem. I'm like, I tell Space Ghost, because Space Ghost is he's kind of controlling and helping to control everybody getting an opportunity to say what they need to say. So he's mediating, right? So I'm like, Space Ghost, check this out. My little homie got something he want to say. He got a poem he want to offer that's kind of addressing kind of what we dealing with. And it was Lil Nutty, man, and he came up and did a beautiful poem about the man with no brain, right? The one who had not used his brain, and it was a nice poem. And I remember when it was kind of around when he finished that I think Space Ghost and Sule kind of addressed something, and it was a little energy in it. Wasn't bad, but it was a little energy in it. And at that point, you heard a high-speed chase. You can hear a high-speed chase. And everybody, like, not only do you hear the high-speed chase, but you hear the helicopters like getting involved in the chase, and the chase is close to the park. So it got to a point, and this is a short period, not even a minute, seconds, like 30 seconds or something. It got to a point where the high-speed chase kind of sounded like it came by the park. So the helicopter came over the park. Then you heard shots, doom, 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 at the park. I know everybody and everything involved in this, and if you was there, you know who I'm talking about. But one of the homies from another set had gotten into a high-speed chase with the police. Knew about the meeting at Manchester Park, so I guess his thought was run up in the park where the homies is at and we could hide or disappear. Yeah, but you bring that heat to the park. And that's exactly what happened. Yeah, this homie from another set had some little homies in the car, kind of similar to what we experienced. But they ran, and the police chased them, right? And then when the police chased him, he drove into the parking lot of Manchester Park, and they jumped out the car and they ran. But the little homie who jumped out dumped on the police in the parking lot of Manchester Park. That's not good. So SWAT came to Manchester Park. They tried to surround the whole park. You know Manchester Park and how big it is. SWAT tried to surround Manchester Park, send paramilitary police officers into the park, drawn down, walking into the homies. Now keep in mind, it's heat in here. This could be the bloodbath, right? Because in most cases, some of the homies don't do no training with they shooting, man. These is trained military personnel for the police department coming and advancing on over 300 Crips in a park. And they're trying to tell the homies, line up. Make a line and come through this line. I immediately, no, whatever. I didn't say no, sir, back then. I'm like, nah, homie, come on, let's go this way. Don't go that way. Don't let them line y'all up. Don't let them line y'all up. Just walk away, homie. You ain't even got to run. Just walk away. I'm like making them, so I'm telling homie, the homie starts saying it. All our homies is telling everybody walk away, so everybody starts saying, walk away, just leave, right? Listen, man. We walk away, they almost get the homie who had the tech on him. I'm like, homie, you can't go over there. Come on, man. So we walk away and we kind of start jogging away, running. Like, because if you're going to come after us specifically, that's another type of problem, right? They're not looking at isolating anybody. They're trying to get and corral the whole group of 300 Crips with less than, I'm going to say, 30 in law enforcement, but they got more coming. Right, but right now y'all got about 30 and we got about 300. I mean, either we gonna get off, but they body armor and everything, they all the way militarized, right? And they got fullies, and they coming in organized fashion, right? They not just shooting though, they not shooting, but if somebody pop, it's gonna be a bloodbath either way. That's a bloodbath. So nobody shot at him. But get out of here, just get away, just go. Just walk out. That was the best thing we could do at that point because we really weren't prepared for the engagement that they were. Keep in mind, they go in the air too. They can shoot from the air. They can put bombs. They got stuff that we don't have, man. So when you engage, it was one of them things where I'm like, it's because blown. If the spot got blown up by the homie who came in there and dumped at the police, right? And ran, he got away. I seen him. He got away. You know what I mean? We all got away. We had to run into the neighborhood, in the 9-0 neighborhood over there by Manchester Park. We was all in their streets, tucking heats and having to, get discreet. But put the heat right here, man. Put that thing right, put it right here, and then later on when we come back, when we can get the car, and it calmed down a little bit and start moving like up the street somewhere. They moved away from the park and moved to another location, like trying to see what they could do about the homies, and then they retreated. The police actually retreated. There's just so much was going on in the city, they might have had a hotter situation somewhere else, and that particular military personnel of the police department couldn't be everywhere. They don't have that everywhere, right? That's when they had to call the backup, Army Reserve and the other little spot little joint people they got that come um, back up the police department. So anyway, we went in 90 hood, man, and we hid some heat and stuff like that. And I just put the heat here, man, and then when we go get the car, we'll pull back up and get the heat. So if they pull up on us, you know what I mean, we clean. Third day, Manchester Park. Truce. We go, we get away. We get all our heats, we get all our stuff. We push back to the set. The homies gonna go, we ain't gonna go in a caravan back to the set. Cause they probably done identify cars and we moving in groups. We can't move like that because we're really not ready for the level of activity that we're asking for. Right? We asking for a certain level of activity. Right? But when I saw homies starting to line up because the police tried to line up homies, right? And I seen cooperation with that. My mind told me we're not ready for this confrontation that we're setting ourselves up for, right? We wasn't ready. We was down, but we wasn't ready. It's two different things. So third day, we leave. We get back to the set. We pull up. Some of the other homies had been to the Crenshaw boxing ring, right? And I'm going to stop right here because that hands across South Central, hands across Watts, hands across West LA, hands across, that was like Cubone, Hightower from Great, Key Rock from 60s, Lil Cat from 60s. What they was doing was they was trying to get resources from the city. They had like a city official, some brother, right? He was a city official. And he was saying that if we could get organized to stop some of the violence in our different areas, then they would give us funding for programs that would help us to empower like our areas, right? And spearheading that was homies like Cubone, High T, and Key Rock that I remember, and Lil Cat, because I remember Lil Cat used to call me. They wanted me to get involved to some extent, and I had my own little thing with my music and stuff, but you know, I was with whatever really with the city, right? But ultimately, on the third day, we got out of the Manchester Park situation, and we went back to the set. And when we pulled up, I remember we pulled up over there by Pasture. Some of the homies was over there by Pasture, down the street from Pasture, at one of the homies' houses, in front of his house, right? And he clowning like, man, we was at the boxing ring, and somebody from a rival set threatened to fire on one of the little homies, man. Y'all need to be there, man. In fact, told me some of the G homies was like asking for you, Fat Rat. You need to be there, man, because they know you, homie. You know you need to be there, man, because they calling, they asking for you. And I'm like, all right. So when they doing it, they doing it tomorrow, homie. We just gonna all, we don't all need to go up there though. It just need to be a handful of a chosen few of us that go up there, right? I was never with the part where little homies or younger homies, I don't really do the little homie thing, but just for conversation purposes, younger homies with a limited understanding of how to politic, how to work things out on the level that these older homies do things, right? You don't have that experience, right? So you shouldn't even really be here, right? We can give the report to you when we come back to the set, but you don't belong in here because we don't need numbers, right? We going for quality over quantity at this point, right? And that's quality on dealing with the subject. Not to say that there was no quality in the homies, right? But it's just in dealing with the subject, different people having different types of conversations, man. So, okay, so we gambled up, hung out that night. And I want to say this is the same night that me, no, us and the Marvins, we at Santa Monica Park, we at Santa Monica Beach. Gotta be the same night, man. We at Santa Monica Beach. We gamble up on the beach, right? Homies done ran out of Remy and drinking stuff, so I'm like, look, me and Wolfie gonna go up here and grab some more fifths of Remy or whatever we was drinking. Or what you want? Hennessy. Okay, well we gonna get about 5 or 10 bottles. Throw some money in it. The homies used to, that was a crew. We had money, man. So everybody putting in. Me and Wolfie go up to the little liquor store on the corner of PCH right there, and we walk in the store and we just looking for the drink, right? So we go in looking for the drink. I got my 40 on me. No, I actually, I had a 11 on me at that time. I did. I had my coat on. I had my 11 in my coat. That's 30 shots. Uh, um, we walk into the spot and we looking for drink. I see a little Mexican dude walking kind of fast towards Wolfie. Like Wolfie's over here in the grabbing whatever out of the he's grabbing a cold drink, so he might have been grabbing brews or something. So the Mexican, Wolfie didn't see him at first. He came in kind of fast. Wolfie got a heat on him though, but he came in kind of fast, and he was like red, like mad, like red. You could see the anger on him. So I hurried up and walked over there. And when the Mexican came, he had like his hand on his thing, in his thing. And I got my hand like on my thing, right? But I pulled it out, son. Right? That's like, where you from, Holmes? I'm like, we from Playboy Gangsta Crip. And Wolfie banged a tattoo on him. And he calmed down. He's like, damn, Holmes. I thought y'all was some of them. And he used the diss word to describe the Venice Showlines. This was a dude from V13 who thought we was from Showline, and he was coming to kill us because they was in a hot war with each other. The Showlines and the V13s was in a full-fledged hot war with each other in they set. And this was on the outskirts of they set. So they thought they caught somebody slipping, right? He was in bad shape that night. If we had been Venice Showlines, he would have been in a lot of trouble that night. And we probably, his cameras all over the place, we wouldn't have made it for very long if we didn't go with the full-blown business with the cameras and all that. We didn't do all of that. The cleanup job afterwards, we would have been done. We would have been done. But we made it through that, man. Got the drink out of there, took it back down. Homies continue, we tell them the situation. Then we gambling, and a carload of Mexicans pull up. Where y'all from, Holmes? I banged the set. One of the homies from Marvin's banged Marvin on them. They kept going. So this is kind of, it's not a good area because, you black, and the classification is going to be possibly Venice Showline, and we ain't got nothing to do with no Venice Showlines. In fact, we don't get along with the Venice Showlines, right? At the time, it's kind of, it's warm between us, right? Third day, night over with, boom. Fourth day, we suit up. Hey, I had this Turkish rope, right? that I had made. The rope I didn't have made. I bought the rope, but I had the medallion made, right? Back then. This was 92. I had a big old nice medallion. Somebody got my pictures, man. They stole my pictures. But I'm not glorifying the jewelry I had, but this particular piece was a medallion, and I had the big Turkish that goes on it, but around it was a Turkish, right? Because Turkey is Islam, right? And then inside of it, it said Allah in Arabic, right? And then pave with the diamonds and all of that was the star and the crescent and all that, right? I was an advocate of Islam at that time, man. 92, I was leaning heavily towards Islam, man, and I had some nation brothers that I really supported. And then Shorty, man, Short Dog, rest in peace, man, brother Jerome Muhammad, um, the first begotten of the dead of the area we come out of West LA, man. That's the first one who rose out of the death-like state that we all was in the life, and reached back and was trying to help and pull homies into something that was better for them, man. You know, shout out to Short, man. He really tried that and gave his life, man. He put his life into that effort, and he never really deviated from being a FOI, man. Gotta respect Short, man. Short Dog is the same Short Dog that Ice Cube yells out, "Short Dog's in the house. What up, Log?" That's Short Dog, man. Marv Town's finest, man. He was a member of the Lynch Mob, Cube's other group with JD and T-Bone and Short Dog and the Lynch Mob. He was trying to do his music thing too, man. But shout to Short, man. But at that time, right? Um, we were just we wrapped it up. Let me put it back. We wrapped it up, and then now it's the fourth day, right? So we team up. Hold on, y'all. I gotta go take care of something real quick, and I'll be right back. I didn't do the whole break. I thought I did a break, man. You mean to tell me I just came back in here off that break like that? That's crazy. Thought I had it on break, y'all. My bad. Must have hit a button on my way out. Okay, we still rolling. So anyway, fourth day. Gang truce. We on Crenshaw at the boxing ring. I got my big old piece on, man. Right? They got brothers, the FOI is out front, but they not searching. I don't understand how that worked, because FOI, if they present, I guess they was just present to show a presence, right? Because typically, if the FOI gonna be here like this, it's gonna be a search procedure to get into the boxing ring, right? So the way this is set up, we walk down like a driveway and we go into the back, and in the back you walk in and it's all these hitters from different sets, but it's young and old, right? But you know, it's hitters in here, man. You know, ain't nobody got searched. Boxing ring in the middle of the building, and everybody surrounding the boxing ring, and then homies will get up in the middle of the boxing ring and address their issue. And I guess the boxing ring was symbolizing that if you got a problem with the issue we addressing, we could get it in right here in the boxing ring. I seen homies, man, that I hadn't seen for years, man. I don't know if it's appropriate to name the names of the homies, man. Let me think about that for a little bit. But so we going around, right? In the boxing ring at this time that I want to make this statement, I want to say something, because my timing may be off, because there was a situation that day that could have resulted in the loss of a lot of lives that day. Because I think this is appropriate to say, one of the little homies from Hoover had lost his brother in street violence to a rival gang. The rival gang is in this setting, in this truce arrangement at the boxing ring. The rival gang is in here. So we're going around the building introducing ourselves. I don't know who came up with this format of how this was all set up, but it seemed like Key Rock had something to do. Key Rock from 60s had something to do with it, because he was an influential part of it, and you know that's Crenshaw, man. So we going around, everybody introducing themselves. This rival set to the Hoovers, they introduce themselves. Then they get to us. And we introduce ourselves. And one of my homies was conflicted in how to introduce himself. So he asked me, because he fell out with his big homie, and he didn't call himself by the name of his big homie no more. But his big homie got one of the most renowned names in the Crip car. So I told him, I said, when they ask you who you are, say you the little homie that whatever you got internally is a conflict with the big homie. Ain't nobody business in this room but ours. So when you introduce yourself, you just introduce yourself as his little homie, man. You got the credibility for that name too, right? And he went with what I said, man. And I'm only pointing that out because that's going to be a part of a story I'm going to tell y'all about that particular homie who nobody, he wouldn't listen to nobody but me, right? And at the end, he stopped listening to me. That means a lot. So anyway, we all introduce ourselves. Now, remember, this rival set is right here. They introduce themselves. It gets to us. We introduce ourselves. Now it's the Hoovers. The Hoovers introduce themselves. When they get to the little homie from Hoover, who had lost his brother, maybe a couple of weeks prior or something, he goes and says, instead of just introducing himself, he says, I can get along with anybody in here, right? The Trey O's, the 30s, the 6-0s, but I ain't getting along with no, and he reversed the 9-0s. It was a disrespectful term. He turned the 9 and the 0 around and said, I ain't getting along with none of them. And one of the 9-0s say, man, listen, we ain't coming here to be disrespected. When he said that, the little homie from Hoover had a Uzi on him, man. Nobody knew he had a Uzi on him. We standing in between these two sets. This dude went to pull his Uzi out. Little homie, he came for the work, man. We would have been in the middle of the work. But an OG, older Hoover homie, grabbed him, put him in that full Nelson, grabbed that heat from him, had like he had work, you know what I mean? And drug him up out of there. And then it was a thing where now the 9-0s is getting on their phones. Key Rock comes up like, what you doing on your phone? They know each other. He like, what you doing on your phone, homie? And he goes and now mind you, this is in front of everybody. This is the crib car, right? It's all cribs in here, different sets. He like, man, we ain't come here for to be disrespected, homie. He like, man, put your phone down. Key to Rock telling him, man, put your phone down. That's resolved. You ain't got to do that. He like, man, we just gonna be safe. He like, man, put your phone down. Like, Rock, I ain't here for that shit. Like, and everybody understood the frustration, right? And there was some frustration behind that. There was also, let me take notice of another thing that I remember about the boxing ring. Before I go any further, there was an older brother in there who was like I want to say he was Muslim, because he had on like I forget the name of the outfit, where it's a longer top and the pants, and he had like a tam on it. It wasn't really a kufi though, it was more of a tam. And he had that on, so it was more Africanized, like that type of Pan-Africanist type garb than it was Islam, right? But he was there. Come to find out, he was in there armed because his son was murdered 2 weeks prior to this meeting. I believe somewhere between a week and 2 weeks prior to this meeting, right? And he knew who the murderer of his son was, and that person was inside the gang truce that particular day, and he was there to kill the one who murdered his son. And he wasn't gang affiliated or nothing. He wasn't gang affiliated. He stood out like a sore thumb, like, who is that? Like, you would have thought this is somebody we're all gonna, who's gonna address all of us with some form of resources or give us some kind of a spiel or something like that about consciousness or nothing like that. Nah, this man was here to execute somebody who had killed his son. Somebody got wind of it, right? Took him outside, I think rendezvous with him and some of the homies from that set that had murdered his son and the Muslims, I believe, and they worked it out to where, he had an opportunity for atonement with not necessarily the individual who had done it, but the set that was responsible, that individual was from. And they had an opportunity to, I believe, atone, because he at the end of it, he made the announcement that he didn't want to say who it was because they had removed that homie and got him to safety. Like, man, we don't know if that's gonna go backwards or whatever, man. So and then that was a pending case, like, type of deal, something like that. So it was real sensitive, man. Whatever that was, right? So when we finished with the going around and all that, we got through that part. We got through the almost Uzi pop, standing in between the rival feud, etc., etc. Now we're going into the boxing ring, and everybody's addressing their issues, right? Hey, man, I'm gonna tell y'all, the Playboy Gangsters showed up big in that 9 Deuce truce in that boxing ring. Not just me, but what I said resonates. So what it is like you're feeling something. You think in a certain way. You believe a certain thing, but you haven't engaged the necessary amount of study to articulate what it is you have to say. What I have to say is the same as what you have to say. The sentiment is exactly the same, only I know how to word it a little better. That's all, right? So what I'm tapping into by using my expression the way that I, my, small command of the English language, all I'm doing is tapping into a common or similar sentiment to the rest of the homies who's in this room, because we the same in a way, right? So I'm feeling a certain way and seeing a certain thing, and I'm hearing everybody going into this boxing ring and what they're addressing, and I'm saying, they ain't saying this. This is incorrect. All this is wrong right here, right? But when I get my opportunity, I'll address it. So one of the dudes from Showline is inside of the boxing ring, and it's about to be something said that we Playboy gangsters have to address, right? And I know who this guy is, and I know his reputation, right? And in my mind, I'm saying, why would they? And not to just press on my personal disagreement with the choice of persons, but maybe nobody else was available. But I know far more reputable show lines that could have been there in representation, even though this dude is original. Like, he go back some years, but his reputation ain't that good. He got some stuff on his jacket that just don't line up with him being here representing show lines like that. But that's something I know and a few other people in the room know, right? And I did alert my homies to it, right? So he got in there and he started talking, and he was saying, man, what we got going on with all of them other little hoods and all that, trying to talk down on or undermine the Playboy gangsters. That's what he was trying to do, right? What we got going on with these other little hoods, it ain't really no big deal, man. We dealing with these Mexicans and we need help with the Mexicans, et cetera, right? This is real. What they going through with the Mexicans is a real problem. It's a lot of death going on and a lot of moving out of the neighborhood and the area going on because, it was a full court press. As I understood, the Mexicans was full court pressing the show lines, man. And they did need some help. Because sometimes, the Mexicans, it'll seem like it's just show lines, but they call it other sets that they allies with, and they all coming through and popping your ass. You don't know who it is. They Mexicans. You don't know what set they from. They might just be hollering V13 and pop getting at you. So it was a lot going down, and I understood that, right? But the undermining of what we had going on with y'all was kind of an insult, right? So I jumped in the boxing ring with this particular brother from Showline, man. And I got the microphone from him. I think one of the homies, whoever the brother who was helping with that, mediating or facilitating who would be given a certain amount of time to make their speech. I never remember to forget the homie Big Shit from Shotgun. Big Shit head. Yeah. So I got the mic, man, and this is what I had to say, and this is what I want to reiterate to y'all when I'm saying this, right? I said, like, I noticed when I walked in here that we was getting into a boxing ring, but we was here for a gang truce in a boxing ring. What's the purpose of the boxing ring, though? So what y'all trying to say with the boxing ring, are you saying that we gonna go back to bumping to solve our differences? Because I got homies in the grave that wanted to fight, didn't get the opportunity to fight because you pulled out and started blazing the homie, so you killed the homie with gunplay. You didn't give him an opportunity to get a fair one with you, right? So following that, right, the killing started. And since then, it ain't been nothing but killing. So if we got a beef with you, right, we not going to modify how we deal with our enemies. Ain't nobody going to come in here and tell the Playboy gangsters how they going to deal with their enemies. We going to handle our enemies the way we handle them. And it ain't going to be in no boxing ring with no gloves on because the gloves been off. We not going back to gloves now. If we talking about a truce, that means we cease fire, we cease and desist with violence perpetrated against each other on any level. And the homies erupted. The homies went off. It was like a roar in the building. Big Ship was like, oh, that's what I'm talking about, Fat Rat. And when I said that, Keita Rock jumped in the ring and gave me a bear hug. And he grabbed the mic from me. He said, what Fat Rat saying right here? What Fat Rat is saying right here? That's what that's what I'm talking about. So if you from 60s, right, and you with me, then you with Fat Rat because we together. Like, and if y'all got a problem with what he talking about, then we moving together against y'all. That's what he said. This is 1992. I forget what month it was. This is the 1992 Gang Truce in the boxing ring, right? Hey, man. Since 1992, the Playboy gangsters in the 60s ain't been really at each other no more. Right? What am I saying, man? There's a way to communicate in a friction, even in friction, because you're dealing with the black man who's a gang member, right? But he's by nature created to think right. If you sit a clean glass, you've heard this before, next to the dirty glass he's drinking from, he'll choose the clean glass. Some of the other homies came behind. I think it was Nose came up, said some deep shit, and then G-Bone came up and reminded, the show lines about some of the things that we had done. And when we left, I think when we got off, I think Dion Best got up there and represented the Mansfields and started talking about how hard they had came up and stuff like that. And a few other homies spoke. And then it was kind of over with, man. We had done what we came to do. Right? We let the show lines know, man, we kind of strong right now. I mean, be careful about how you addressing us. Because, you don't need an additional problem to the one you already dealing with. But if we don't resolve that right here today, then, me personally, as I declared, I'm inactive. So you ain't really got to worry about me the way that you used to, because I'm inactive. I'm pushing records. I'm trying to get the homies on. I'm trying to do different things, right? And I went out, and Big Bob from Harlem called me over there, man. And we had a beautiful heart-to-heart conversation, because Big Bob remembers when I told him in Soledad, man, I'm going to go out here and try to do this rap thing like for real. And he seen me really trying to do that. And he was like, that if Big Bob is a man of few words. So that's right, cuz. You know what I mean? Do your shit, do your thing. Other G homies, man, we had some words, man. I guess when I gave Lil Cat my number from 60s, we talked extensively, man, and he would always call me and let me know with different stuff that was going on that we could attend and be a part of, you know what I mean? And some of the stuff we went to, man, but that fourth day, man, the conversation that we had in the boxing ring was a good enough conversation that we entered into a truce with the 60s that I never agreed we should have been in the first place. I go back with two more 60s than I can name. Like, I go back with them. Petey Wack and all them cats, man. I go back with them dudes, man. And we gangsters, we Playboy gangsters and trades, right? But we ain't in A-Train gangster conflict business. We ain't in that. Nor are they necessarily in our conflict business. That's what they dealing with, and what we dealing with is not the same thing, right? And you should understand there's a barrier right there, right? You don't enter into a war with them, right? In prison, if it breaks, I've been in situations, let me tell you, man, and I ain't trying to jump all over the place, but even prior to this happening in this boxing ring, man, I've been in situations where this set that we cool with that lined up with the enemy of my set who's in violation and went to protect him, and then the set that we beefing with then lined up with me to help me come against the set of the two. It was just a mess, right? I've been in them situations, man, right? Where we can find, ultimately what I'm saying is we can find a way, right, to conflict resolution. With any set that we banging against right now, really, an opportunity for peacetime is very high. And an opportunity like that needs to be seized to advance business ideas and concepts and outings that you engage in business conversations, and you don't have to worry about, the actual military, the DMZ, or you create sort of a DMZ, a demilitarized zone, where you're free to move about in certain periods of time in areas where you would ordinarily have to be paranoid and panicking about. Not to say that you let your guard down all the way or period, right? But it's relaxed environment, man. It's a relaxed environment. And Insane, man, when he came home, it was right at the end of the truce, the 9 Deuce truce, man. Insane came home. And we was having a conversation. We was all at Cheviot Hills Park. Never forget this, man. Insane was another type of homeboy, man. Really. Cause we used to go off to the side, and we gotta build, homie. We gotta understand what it is we talking about and dealing with. It ain't just brute force that we bring into this thing. It ain't just gunplay that we bring into this thing. We gotta have some type of military strategy that we bring to this thing, so that we can empower the homies, man. The homies ain't, and Insane, I ain't never seen a homie move the homies like Insane do. Way better than me. Way better. So me and Insane, when we talked, it was about him moving the homies in the direction that was more suitable to the Playboy Gangsters making progress, right? But they don't know what to do. Man, anyway, man. But we had a conversation, man, and Insane was like, man, we could do the truth thing, right? But we got to keep our guard up, because at a certain point, these dudes are just gathering information. That's how Insane felt about the truth. Like, they're just gathering information, homie. So they getting to identify homies and stuff, et cetera, et cetera. So then when the truth's down, they know what to look for. So we just got to be careful about that part of it. You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, I'm willing to make that sacrifice, though. Like, I'll go out there and let them see me. You know what I mean? In the interest of establishing truces and peace where the homies can move around and we can get to something productive, right? I make the sacrifice. Rather see that than to keep on losing homies, man, to prison or the graveyard, man. I'd rather see that, So anyway, with that said, man, with that being said, the 92 truths, the main point I wanted to make, and there's more incidents where we met and had conversations, and then some of the homies was going into other hoods, and other hoods was coming into the set and different stuff like that. I wasn't into that. I wasn't into going and being in like enemy hood or enemy with a truce, being in they set. I wasn't into that. I ain't feel that. But homies was doing it. The younger homies was doing it, and I liked that they was able to. They socialized a little differently than the older homies. they socialize a little different. And I think, I was thinking based on, their ability to socialize that they can actually sustain a truce. And it did work for a long time, man. It did. But with that being said, I just wanted to cover that point, man, about the Nine Dukes truce and us resolving most of our conflict with the 60s, man, that I believe never should have happened in the first place. I believe that was grossly mismanaged and a lack of control of who's using a gun and when, right? That thing needs to be somebody gotta have a say in that, man. It can't just be randomly because a dude got a gun, he get to pop off and just do what he feel like doing with the gun, man. We used to come through and take the little homies' guns, man. Take them from y'all standing around looped up, looking like target practice, man, on the block. You know what I mean? Y'all on the set, y'all got, all these heats out and all that type of stuff in your hands, shooting them when you pull them out your pocket, damn near killing yourself. We taking your heat from you, man. Yeah, we used to do that, man. But anyway, with that being said, it's your homeboy Fat Rat Evolved, original West Side, Playboy Gangsta Crips, man. Y'all remember that we are winners. We're on a 1,000-mile journey that begins with one step. That step is taking us one step closer to our success. And unity is the key. In all that we do, the principles of unity have to be used, yo. You gotta stop trying to do it by yourself. That lone wolfing, man, it ain't getting you nothing. Right? It's your homeboy Fat Man, man. Y'all continue to have a blessed one, man. And